Do you think we're still going to leave?
Yes.
Okay, we're leaving.
Yeah,
that's
that is the law of the land.
Hello everyone, today we have with us Richard Barnes, one of our most successful and best political veterans that we have in this country, who knows a lot about Brexit. He was also the deputy to Boris Johnson when he was the mayor of London between 2008 and 12. So we're going to talk about a lot of things today, including WTO Brexit and the current situation in the country and the future of not just the UK but also the EU. Mm-hmm. So what are your thoughts in terms of how the whole thing's been going since 2016 with the media, the whole we're going to crash out, WTO, we're going to die?
It's been an utter and total mess, hasn't it? Mm-hmm. You know, in many ways I could have wished that Boris Johnson was a Prime Minister with 4 wisdom teeth in his mouth, and he was prepared to bite the bullet then and progress as he has done since he became Prime Minister some 6 weeks ago. I think our negotiation stance was unbelievably weak. We tried to mollify everybody within Europe who clearly didn't want us to leave. Mm-hmm. Their accounts have never been ratified. Mm-hmm. They are hideously in debt, mm-hmm. country by country and EU by EU, and the loss of our contribution will cause major problems. And Juncker, as we know, is retiring at the end of this month, end of October, and no doubt he's looking forward to a pension which he wanted to guarantee that there was payment for. Right. And without our money, I don't think they can guarantee that. So, you know, it's been an absolute mess until somebody bit the bullet and said, this is what is going to happen. Mm-hmm. People forget that Article 50 is the notice. That's what triggers it. Yeah. We are leaving in a period. 31st of October is now the date.
Well, that was the whole point, because not many people actually talk, because of the media that don't actually explain it properly. Article 50 is, when you trigger, it's a notice period, like when you leave your job. And when you leave your job, you could leave with a severance package or just leave without anything. Mm-hmm. And that, you have that negotiating time. And this is why, obviously, we always say that we should have, and we technically have left end of March. And there's a lot of people, including Robin Tilbrook and a couple of other kind of QCs, that have kind of mentioned there have been a couple of cases that said, well, technically we have left. But obviously then they, in the back room, the European bureaucrats and the UK basically changed international law, and that was the wrong thing to do. But no one actually in the media talks about the whole point of, it's a notice, it's ideally you want to get some sort of divorce settlement or agreement that, okay, we're leaving, this is ours, this is yours, but we're leaving it. It's like a divorce, but having another treaty that you get tied to, is that ideal? Or?
No, absolutely not. And we gave the notice, we knew what the period was, 2 years, mm-hmm. which were up in March. Then we begged for, please give us an extension, before you give us the decree nisi. And that extension is to October 31st. Whether they will agree to a further extension, I doubt.
Yeah, it's a bit of a gamble, because it's not a guarantee, right?
No, absolutely not. And you only want one of the 27 to say no.
Veto,
it's vetoed. And when one looks at the economies and state of politics across the piece, from Portugal, Spain, Italy, Greece, and indeed the unhappy Hungarians and the unhappy Poles, then it's not a club that you necessarily want to be a member of.
No, and I mean, this is the whole point. I mean, the reason I'm still optimistic, and I keep telling everyone that I still think, again, it's only an opinion, I'm not God, that we're still going to be leaving, because when Boris says that he's not going to ask for an extension, Remainers freak out because they think he's going to break the rules and everything. But I think my view is maybe he's spoken to someone in Hungary or somewhere already, and he kind of knows that they're going to veto. Maybe. That could be also another way, if he's forced to actually ask for a veto. But that's just, it's a gamble. There's no guarantee that.
No, but there have been Dutch and German MEPs that have heavily criticised the bureaucrats of of Europe, saying that the way in which they've treated England, the way in which they've Britain, the way in which they've negotiated is disgraceful and should never have been allowed. So even within the EU, there are cracks which are appearing. We take a major part of the German car industry. Good Lord, we take a major part of French wine and cheese. They don't want to lose that market. And there is some basic realities which the bureaucrats who've obviously never had a job in their life, where they have to worry about their their mortgage payments or paying somebody's salary,
Yeah.
simply ignore. Now we say that Parliament is out of touch with the people.
Yeah.
No more so than the EU.
Well, that's the thing. You're speaking of the EU, not only since at least 1992, but even post 2016, post the referendum vote. In the media, we see a lot of scrutinising and kind of challenging the UK politicians and based on what's been happening. No one actually talks about what's happening in the EU, their problems, their divisions, and what could happen to them. As you said, the whole system is a mess, obviously. Like, you know, the whole structure of the European Union is based on this country owes to that one, the other one owes to the other one. And that's just how they roll. But why is it that no one talks about it, and how could we get the message out there?
It's difficult. The press will print what the press wants to print, and what they believe will sell newspapers.
True.
Now, by chance, I speak half a dozen languages. My partner is Italian. My godparents were French, and I know.
So you're a typical Brexiteer who hates
typical
foreigners.
Brexiteer who hates foreigners.
Yeah.
And I've just come back from 2 weeks in Spain, and talking to ordinary Italians, talking to ordinary French people, they would love to have a vote.
Oh yeah.
Are we in or are we out?
Yeah.
And I'm pretty certain they'll vote out.
Yeah.
The Italians are disgusted with the whole system. The entry of the euro crippled their economy, and it still hasn't recovered. I'm totally aware of their political shenanigans, which they enjoy, but youth unemployment in Italy, and youth means under the age of 35, is running at about 40%. And even if you get a job, you won't get a full-time contract.
No.
And they'll be reviewed every year, and it's a nightmare.
But it's not just actually like the unemployment or the problem with the Eurozone, it's actually even the policies of the EU that are supposed to be good in terms of trade policies, the protectionist policies to, for example, support certain industries in Italy or France. It's actually hurting, as a whole, the people of Italy and France, because the industries become lazy because they rely on subsidies. There's no competition, actual free trade with Africa or Asia. If they had, it actually helps them more. But the fact that they keep subsidizing farmers instead of actually making them compete with Africa or other places, or even here, I don't think a lot of these intellectuals or self-proclaimed experts of the European Union, they never mention this, but they actually support it.
Quite. I would suggest to anyone who's listening to your programme, the next time you're in a restaurant, talk to your waiter or waitress. Ask them where they come from.
Yeah.
Ask them why they're here. North or South Italy, they will say they are here because there's no jobs back home.
Yeah.
The Spaniards and the Greeks and the Romanians will tell you exactly the same. Now, we're going through this hideous hiatus of actually leaving, but our economy is booming, we are creating jobs, we are absorbing people from Europe and indeed the rest of the world. If we're so bad, why are they coming?
Yeah, exactly. It's like the whole investments and what's been happening even since the vote. If we are so not welcoming, whether it's socially or culturally, but also economically, why are we still the hub? And but in terms of everything's falling apart here. This is the
flags across the street.
I'm pretty sure these flags were made in the European Union, that's why. If it was in China, it would have been fine. Let's just look at it. We don't have the budget of the BBC, unfortunately. So going back to the way we're going to be leaving, the withdrawal agreement, a lot of people are concerned that there's a stitch up by even the Brexit establishment in Parliament that they're going to force us to leave with the same withdrawal agreement. Can the withdrawal agreement even come back? Because that's
there's only one element of the withdrawal agreement which is causing problems, and that is North-South Irish border. The rest, 95%, is agreed, both for pharmaceuticals, cars, etc., etc. That is basically agreed, but there is this argument about a border between North and South Ireland. Why? I question. I know Switzerland quite well, which borders 5 European countries, and there is no hard border there. I know, speak Norwegian and Swedish, there is no hard border between Norway, Sweden, and indeed Denmark, because there's a bridge which connects Sweden and Denmark. There is no hard border. Why is North and South Ireland being treated differently? It is a total canard, whatever one wants to use it, crock of whatever, merde, as they say in France, to say it will break the Good Friday Agreement. If want to cross the border, whether it's hard or soft, existent or non-existent, they will still do it. You know, I've never heard of anybody getting to a border saying, "Oh, we can't go across there and set them off because here's the border. Let's grow up."
No, you're right, and I think that's the biggest problem because and I think we've lost the argument on the how to discuss the withdrawal agreement because the big chunk of it, which is kind of the citizens' rights and the payment. I mean, you could argue the exact figure of the payment, but the whole point of the payment, this sort of stuff, we could deal with.
Yeah,
but all the issues that could tie us to, for example, the ECJ, the customs union, it's all because of the backstop and things around it, obviously.
Yeah.
And we've already said we're not going to build any kind of infrastructure.
If they want it, they can have it.
And this is why the media and the ordinary people in Europe who are criticising us, they should actually criticise the European Union because the European Union is the one that's threatening to build the infrastructure. So I think if we just leave without any border, it's going to be the EU that will force Ireland to build, obviously. And that's going to be the next battle.
But it will never happen.
No.
Neither North or South want it. It is just an excuse to delay and delay.
Does that mean the EU will kick out Ireland as well?
Well, yeah, and let's face it, you know,
Ireland might punish them.
Ireland is dependent upon its trade with the UK.
Yeah.
Let's pretend anything else. And indeed, there's a lot of Irish that live in this country who've come here for work.
That's true. No, they do.
You know, and they are dependent upon us. It is a major bluff. It is a nonsense. It should be simply taken off the table and forgotten.
You know when they say we're going to crash out if we leave without a deal and there's going to be a kind of economic cost, is there also a cost the other way if there's a delay or kind of keep extending whether it's a transition or the actual kind of negotiations?
Well, I've seen a range of figures going through to the end of January for a 3-month extension, which goes from 15 to 100 billion pounds.
That's a lot.
Now, whatever it is,
yeah.
you know, the British taxpayer will be paying it into Europe, and we don't need to do that.
No.
You know, it will be very expensive without a shadow of doubt.
Yeah.
Simply to keep them afloat and keep them going. Since Brexit, Article 50 was triggered.
Yeah.
The cost of Europe to the UK taxpayer has gone up by 20%. And, you know, we are paying billions every year, which can be used elsewhere. Yeah,
and also I've heard from others who say that even under a no deal situation, after a while, obviously we'll adapt and we'll get used to it, you know, because that's how economics works. There will be a situation where we'll be fine, but because there's a gap in terms of the budget in the European Union and their biggest partner, then even when it comes to currency, it could reverse again, because we could come back up again, and the euro could become weaker and weaker because the Eurozone's not going to do well.
Yeah. I have no doubt that once this
uncertainty
is removed, the pound will recover. It is the strongest economy in Europe. And because it's the strongest economy, people want to invest here. I know of some Chinese who've got $500 million, pounds rather, to invest in the UK. They are waiting at the moment because as the pound goes down, then you know their 500 million transferred from Hong Kong is, you know, it's effectively cheaper, or they have more money to invest. Once it's settled, once it calms down, then they will invest majorly in this country. And that's just one that I personally know of and have been helping.
No, you're right. And I mean, this is going to be our future, and hopefully we'll actually sort it out. But what about the European Union's future? What if once we've left, what do you see the future for Europe?
I think the greatest problem is that the divorce between the bureaucrats and the politicians who get elected. They clearly don't necessarily speak to each other or understand each other. The bureaucrats will plough on, yet the politicians who depend upon votes will recognise that it is actually a failing system. I studied economics at O-level, A-level, and I've got a degree in it. And I learned...
Yeah, you still didn't become a socialist. Because usually that's how it happens when you study.
No, they say if you're well, if you're not a socialist before the age of 21, you haven't
Yeah.
got a heart.
That's right.
And if you're a socialist after 21, you haven't got a head.
Yeah.
And that was an LSE lecture, I understand. No, and I was taught that the interest rate, bank rate, if you like, in London, which was then reflected up in the northeast and the northwest, was not necessarily the right rate for the north and the northeast, where they needed economic stimulation, where often London was overheating and it needed calming down. Now, if that principle is then applied to Europe, is Sweden and Greece in the same bucket? Is Portugal and Hungary and Bulgaria and Poland all in the same thing? It just is not going to work. Even in America, they have varying rates across the states.
Of course, yeah.
And they've recognised that over many tens of years of development.
That's true.
And also the imposition by diktat to the countries. We've already seen that falling apart with Bulgaria and Hungary taking their particular views on absorbing the migrants coming from Africa, where they've had a diktat from the bureaucracy and the politicians have said no. These are going to cause conflicts.
So you know Boris Johnson on a personal level because you worked with him for years when he was mayor of London.
Still in touch.
And yeah, so you're still friends. What do you think of the current team? What do you think is going on in their head, the strategy with Dominic Cummings, and if you were there, what would you...
Dominic Cummings has become the bête noire. You know, newspapers and everybody else needs an Aunt Sally at which to throw stones.
It's like Darth Vader, we found the one to criticise it.
And Dominic Cummings is that magnet, that Aunt Sally, that thing in the field, the scarecrow at which they can throw stones at. And he acted as an advisor to Boris. The great problem that most of the media, and indeed clearly most of Parliament have, is at last we've got centre-right, right-wing government, centre-right, right-wing advice, which is contrary to everything that we've had since '97 when Blair came in. And the PC brigade are losing control, and they're recognising they're losing control, and they hate it. So they will scream blue murder. Exactly the same thing is happening in the States, where centre-right, right-wing government is overturning some of the PC liberal nonsenses.
Draining the swamp.
Draining the swamp, and I thought that was a wonderful phrase.
It works.
It
Easy
really
to
does
understand.
work. Okay, he goes through his problems, but dear old Nancy Pelosi, she's got problems of her own which she'll never admit to, and this impeachment thing which she's going through at the moment is endeavouring to gain traction. It's never going to go anywhere.
It's silly, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just silly. And you see the same in France, where Marine Le Pen has been very successful in her campaigns. In France, in Italy, it's exactly the same thing as well. There is a movement away from this liberal claptrap back to reality and the life that we all live.
I keep saying that I would rather have the anti-establishment movements that would do a shake-up to be like the ones we have now, whether it's here with Dominic Cummings or Brexit or Nigel Farage, or with Trump in America, or in France with these guys, because I'd rather have a safer version of a shake-up than what we used to have in the 30s in Germany or in the past, like across the world.
And indeed here.
Because these people are not, even Trump or like us, we want a shake-up, but we don't want to destroy the world. No. It's not and they keep comparing us to the past. They keep comparing us, and just because you're anti-establishment, that means you're going to bring some sort of authoritarian, I don't know, some weird situation where you're going to get everyone out and destroy industries, but it makes no sense.
No sense whatsoever. But it's giving power to the people, and there is nobody who hates the people power more than the socialists and the socialists.
That's true.
You can see that across the board.
So, as we said, because you know Boris, what do you think? Do you think we're still going to leave?
Yes.
Okay, we're leaving. That's
that is the law of the land.
Yeah, it's default.
Default.
With or without it.
Article
Do or die.
Article 50
Come on,
has
mate.
been ticking away for
Yeah.
3 and a bit years. We will leave.
What do you think is the best move by Boris next?
There'll be a riot if
We
don't.
Oh yeah, big people are gonna. We're all gonna be ready if somehow things happen.
And I'm convinced that the shenanigans at the moment are waking up the silent majority.
Yeah.
And they've had enough. I mean, you've only got to talk to people. It has divided families. I have rows with my partner constantly, and so we try to avoid talking about Brexit and all the rest of it. And indeed, friends who are Remainers and up and down the country, it's the same.
But at the same time,
if they're betrayed.
Because the poll just came out. 60% of the country now agree with Boris that we should leave end of October. So that 60% includes Remainers.
Yeah.
So not all Remainers, not all 48% are on the streets, kind of asking for a second referendum.
It was an 80% poll, and 54.6 or whatever voted to leave. That's got to be given.
Absolutely.
Credence.
It's just pure logic. I don't know why people are contesting it, but what's your opinion on the whole Supreme Court stuff that's been going on?
That's very interesting.
Convention changing and the precedent.
Very interesting. Article 9 of the Bill of Rights, 1688-89, says that the courts shall not interfere with the political process.
No.
And I think they just have.
Well, since this establishment of the Supreme Court.
Yeah, that's another socialist idea, wasn't it?
Yeah. I don't know who thought of that. I mean,
Tony Blair.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, why you thought of that?
Because it was going to be subservient to the European Court of Justice.
Right, that makes sense. Yeah. And there was, again, the whole thing with, back in the early 2000s, everyone's been obsessed with like the West Wing and the American side of politics.
Absolutely.
That's a bad idea.
It doesn't even function for very long, does it?
No, absolutely not.
So their judgment was very interesting indeed. The Prime Minister said that he respects and holds them in high regard.
Still criticised.
But and I've read it, the full judgment, I suggest people do.
Yeah.
And Para 60, Article 60 of it, which was the nub of their decisions, was based on the evidence, written evidence given by one John Major. And he was saying it was the length of the prorogation, 5 weeks, not the prorogation itself was unlawful because it denied Parliament the opportunity to discuss and debate and fulfil its role. I regarded that piece of evidence as one of the confessional pieces from John Major, who did exactly the same thing for 5 weeks to leading up to an election to suppress.
It was cash for questions.
Cash for questions. And to suppress that report.
We didn't have the Supreme Court back then.
What a hypocrite.
It's interesting. No. So what are your predictions for the next few weeks, and what could Remainer MPs do, and what could Boris do in return?
Well, there'll be a torrid day today, with everybody shouting at
nothing to achieve.
The Attorney General for giving the advice that he did, which was based on 400 years of precedent.
Yeah, he didn't do anything wrong.
He didn't do anything wrong, in my view. So they'll be throwing stones at him. They'll be calling on the Prime Minister to resign. If that triggered a general election, then I would totally support him resigning. But if it triggers Corbyn becoming the resident at number 10, believe me, he will dig his nails into the carpet and he will not want to be dragged out at all.
No, of course not.
So, and then as soon as we've had a general election and there's a majority returned, then we must abolish the Fixed Term Parliament Act.
Oh, absolutely, we should do it straight away after the next election. It makes no sense. And I know why David Cameron did it was because of the coalition, but he should have done it, it's just a one-off. He should have just said, between 2010 and 2015, for the sake of this, but don't do a Fixed Term Parliament Act where it could be every 5 years. It doesn't work for this country.
Exactly.
Our constitution.
And the sub-clauses which say you've got a 60% vote in Parliament.
What's that about?
What's that?
Well, it's not even 2/3 of votes, it's 2/3 saying yay. That's the problem, because a lot of people abstained at 50% versus 50 votes versus 300.
Exactly.
But that's not enough. Obviously, so to finish this off, because obviously a lot of Brexiters are concerned about that we're not leaving. We already said that in terms of the withdrawal agreement, as it stands the way it is, it can't come back because of the 3 strike rule. They can't. the House of Commons can't vote on it.
Well, it could do
If they
if
change it.
if the Speaker decides that
Oh,
there's
yeah.
a precedent that happened on a Black Friday in
Yeah.
1627.
But this
Well,
speaker
was that-
actually is not even in favour of the withdrawal agreement, and we want. I mean, a lot of people in government actually would prefer to just get it done and
Yeah.
get the votes out. But I think his big issue is with the Tory front bench than with Brexiteers. He has a bigger problem with them than with just ordinary Brexiteers. So
I think you're right.
for the sake of making them angry, he's not going to do it. But
And he's the most poisonous speaker I believe that we've ever had.
it's ruined the convention. It's
Yeah.
the whole tradition.
And he wants to go down in history as well remembered. He will go down in history remembered, but not for the right reasons.
No, absolutely not. No, he's going to be in the history books. So good for him.
Bring back Becky Boothroyd.
Yeah, but the other ways is that apart from the Ben bill that will force Boris Johnson to ask for an extension, and we've already said there are ways to kind of not to get that done, whether it's by vetoing the European Council or
They say you've got to ask them.
yeah,
Well, he could send a second-class mail, couldn't he?
yeah.
On the 31st
Or
of October.
send the wrong email. Oh, send it to the wrong Brussels.
Yeah.
Well, no,
And
yeah.
he could do that, but they don't dictate what the wording is. The wording, he could send one letter
Yeah.
and then send another one by fast.
That's the thing. So
saying, but I don't support this myself.
yeah, a lot of people said that. So the bill says that doesn't say that this is an extension. It doesn't guarantee an extension.
No,
it just says
just
ask.
Ask for it.
So you could ask, and then literally send another letter saying, "Oh, I withdraw my first request."
Exactly. I mean, does he have to write to all 27 members of the EU? Mr. Juncker, who's perhaps coming home from his lunch,
Yeah.
and indeed he's retiring, so
Yeah.
somebody else coming in. Who does he send
No.
it to?
Yeah, that's the extension being difficult for them to achieve. The last one is revoking Article 50, but we already know that the majority of MPs, including Labour ones, would not vote to revoke Article 50. They want a second referendum.
They'll lose their seats if that happens.
Oh yeah, it's just the Lib Dems that are obsessed with revoking now, but they've also said
But-
if they win the election.
But the dear lady from the Lib Dems has got such a short memory or
Yeah.
ignorance regarding history.
About 10 years ago.
Look what Paddy Ashdown was saying about respecting the decision,
Yeah.
respecting democracy, fulfilling democracy.
Yep.
And here she is, she gets up and, whether it's a new pair of shoes or not, I don't know. And completely goes against it. And not all Lib Dems support her on that.
It's funny because historically we look at each other, people on the right, and we believe in our own ideas. But we sometimes, when for fun we're having a drink, we look at each other. Are we the bad guys? But these days I don't think that.
No.
I'm genuinely don't think we are the bad guys for once.
And to be quite honest, I almost despair about this division of left and right.
Yeah.
Because I might well be right wing on some foreign policy issues, but on the social stuff, along with Boris, I'm very liberal. And
Well,
I hate to call it left wing.
When you're the first LGBT deputy mayor of London.
I was indeed, I was indeed, and open about it. And I was appointed by Boris Johnson. James Cleverly was chairman of the London Fire Service. He's now a party chairman. Boris is a liberal. Without a shadow of doubt.
But he's not, because he's blonde and he's kind of overweight, so he looks like Donald Trump. So that means he's basically Donald Trump, right? Because that's how it works.
Well,
just because they're both
that's
blonde.
how it is. I was in a lift with Boris once, and I said to him, Boris, I don't know what it is. I said, you look like an unmade bed. Your hair's all over the place. But if I could splash it all over, I would. Because he has this charisma of meeting the ordinary people. You walk down the street with him and he is mocked. You could see him in Birmingham and further north. He is mocked and he is appreciated and he is supported by those people whose voice has not been heard. Those people who spoke out when there was a referendum. And they will make their voice heard again.
No, I was out with him during the Leave campaign. It's East London somewhere. We went to a couple of random pubs and spoke to a few people who, like your typical kind of working class people who go to pubs but never vote in their life. Like they were probably in their 40s and 50s. And after like a 5-minute chat with Boris, they were convinced that actually I'm going to go out and vote for the first time, and we're going to vote to leave. But these are the people, they were always skeptical about the system. And for once they voted, for the love of God, respect their votes.
Exactly.
Otherwise they're not going to come back again.
No. Well, we say that if they remain ignored, remain pushed aside, then I'm convinced that there will be a great awakening.
Yeah.
And what comes in the train of that, I don't know.
Yeah.
Some of it would, a massive swing to the right would fill me with horror. But it will come if they ignore them.
Yeah. Anyway,
Right.
well, thanks for coming on the channel, and
It's a
it was a great
pleasure.
chat, and hopefully I'll see you soon.
It's a pleasure, yeah.
No, thank you very much.
Let's have a victory party. one
Yes,
day.
I'll get. Yeah, well, speaking of which, actually, because a lot of people on my channel have been asking for t-shirts, Brexit t-shirts, because I've got a few. We've obviously recently set up the merchandise site with all the different Brexit shirts, and in light of the Supreme Court's decision yesterday, we also have a new design, People versus Parliament. I'll put the link in the description. Check it out if you want to buy some for the Brexit party, Brexit victory party, and I'll see you out there in 40 days.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. Yeah. See you guys soon.